Welcome back. Well, we're turning our attention to Zamfara State. Some political developments going in there. Some news making the rounds that there are plans to impeach the deputy governor. We're going to find out why the House, the State Assembly, seems bent on that one. This morning, we've got YUSUF Idris, who is the Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress. He joins us from Gusau. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program today. So could you tell us what is going on about this news making the rounds of plans to impeach the deputy governor of the state?
Well, I want to make it clear we are not planning to impeach the deputy governor. Rather, the State House Assembly is exercising its powers as vested on it by the Constitution to remove either the governor or deputy governor by the provision of the Constitution of Section 188 of the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. So we are not planning for his impeachment. Rather, the House is taking all the necessary steps has been contained in the Nigerian Constitution, which I'm not speaking on behalf of the House of Assembly, neither the Zamfara State Government, but I'm speaking on behalf of the Progressive Congress, the party in power in Zamfara State. As you know, the deputy governor, as the name implies, is supposed to deputize the governor in affairs of the state. And everybody knows initially things started very well between the two. But of a sudden, the deputy governor started misbehaving because the governor decided to change his political party, which I think the governor has the right to join any political party of his interest at any time, as provided by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the House of Assembly, as you know, is accusing the deputy governor of about 3 things. That is abuse of office, and the criminal self-enrichment using public funds, and also failure to discharge his constitutional duties as stipulated in the Constitution. So we are not planning to remove him, rather he's planning, he's the one who is the architect of his problem.
Okay, well, you just confirmed that the State Assembly is making that move to impeach him, even though you started out on the contrary. So is it now an offense because the governor moved from the PDP to the APC and the deputy governor refused to go with him? That suddenly becomes an offense, an impeachable offense?
It's not the reason. I made it clear.
But you just started, you cited that the governor moved, the deputy governor did not move, and then the House is planning, listing 3 quote-unquote things that he's committed for which they want to impeach him.
I said the thing started initially very well, but under the deputy governor started to misbehave contrary to the provisions of the law, because his governor decided to change his political party. And the governor make it clear in the public in terms of his relationship with his deputy. He said because being him in the opposition may not change anything from him to participate in the government. But the deputy governor went contrary to the provisions of the Constitution. So I don't think...
By not changing his political party? I'm sorry, could you tell me what part of the law makes it an impeachable offense if you refuse to change your political party with the governor?
It's not the Constitution. I'm not referring to that because he refused to change. You understand? The House of Assembly is accusing him of abuse of office and criminal self-enrichment through using public funds. And also they charge him again with failure to discharge his constitutional duties as stipulated You understand?
Abuse of office.
Yeah.
Can you define what abuse of office means?
The abuse of office is total disregard to the old provisions of the Constitution provided for him to act as deputy governor in the state. He used to normally leave the state without the permission of the governor. He don't normally participate in all the government policies and program activities. And he is using the public funds to enrich himself personally.
Was there a complaint from the office of the governor that the deputy governor was misbehaving?
No, it doesn't request the governor to complain. The House of Assembly has the power to initiate by 1/3 of the House of Assembly to sign any petition and present it to the Speaker for the serving of impeachment notice. So not necessarily must the petition emanate from the office of the governor or from the public.
So at the moment, these processes that you say that they are putting in place to get the governor out, why have you yourself seen any of those documents?
Yeah, the House of Assembly, the Chairman House Committee on Public Accounts, who is doubled as the Deputy Speaker of the House, presented the document to the Speaker, which was signed by all the House members except one, for serving the Deputy Governor with the impeachment notice.
Right. So I know you've worked closely with the governor before you became the publicity secretary of the APC in Zamfara State. So you know the deputy governor quite well. So at what point really did you notice this? Because if you say that it was just after the governor moved to the APC that you now started noticing this, isn't that a bit curious for you that that happened at that time? So was it at that moment really that the House started the process of impeaching him? Because in the statement that was put out, the House said, well, they had to wait for the period which the court gave before they now instituted the whole procedure, even though they said that they didn't have it in mind before until this year. So really, at what point did you start noticing that? Because the House says they didn't plan to all that while, that they just plan to now. But in the same vein, they said that they had to wait for the court procedures.
No, the whole issue started last week. I think it was Friday or Thursday when the issue of impeachment notice started. And the issue of impeaching governor or a deputy governor is only the House of Assembly that has such powers to impeach governor or deputy governor. And something very interesting, the governor, as you have mentioned, has no hand in the removal process of the deputy governor, that the House of Assembly is only performing its constitutional duties as an arm of government, which the House has the constitutional power to remove even the governor himself if the need arises. So I don't think for once to be still somewhere else and be accusing the governor or anybody, rather than the persons to start looking at the extent of the gross abuse carried out by the deputy governor himself. Because, as you are aware, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the deputy governor is supposed to deputize his governor in affairs of the state, within and outside, or any responsibility to be assigned by his governor in his capacity. So the deputy governor moves and travels away without the permission of his governor. He doesn't even attend any functions of the government. And he went to the extent of making some public pronouncements regarding the government and the people of the state, which maybe the House of Assembly find it necessary to use their constitutional powers to maybe do the right thing.
Right. Well, Mr. Idris, honestly, I mean, I've tried to understand this serious gross misconduct which you talked about, but essentially you've pegged it down to, going out of the state without the governor's permission. And I wonder, I mean, can't the deputy governor actually choose where to go to? He's not tied to the aprons of the governor. I mean, he has his life to live, essentially. And he also talked about not supporting the governor or being at functions. And from what I've seen most times, I mean, the governor is at one place, the deputy governor perhaps should be at another place representing the governor. That's how things are shared. You rarely find both of them together at the same place, except on rare occasions. So this still points to the fact, for me, that this is as a result of the deputy governor not moving with the governor to the APC. So let me just go back in time, because you are aware of what played out. Did the governor actually ask the deputy governor to move with him to the APC?
Come again.
Did the governor ask the deputy governor to move with him to the APC?
I don't have that knowledge because I'm not the governor or the deputy governor. You understand? But we see all the things we see on the peripheral grounds. So I don't have such knowledge, whether he contacted him or not. Maybe the deputy governor is in position to maybe shed more light on that.
Well, you are close to the governor, I dare say, clearly. But would this have been the case if the deputy governor had moved to the APC with the governor? Would you have thought about, or the House had thought about, this impeachment proceedings? Mr. Idris, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Please go ahead now.
I think how many deputy governors are in the same political parties with their governors and also at the end they have been impeached? For instance, in Kogi State, there's an example. The deputy governor and the governor, they are all in the same political party. So the issue of political party does not even arise in impeaching a governor or deputy governor. I think maybe what people need to understand, the simple something in clear terms is that when a governor commits an offense that is impeachable, the House of Assembly has power to impeach him. Likewise, the deputy governor. So the issue of different belonging to different political parties is not even an issue for one to maybe say it's the reason to impeach the deputy governor.
Well, so I see that you mentioned Kogi State, so it raises a question. Did you study the notes of what played out in Kogi with the deputy governor at that time when the governor and his deputy had the issues? It looks like you actually studied how the things played out and you sort of are replicating it now in Zamfara State.
No, I'm just giving you an example because you said because they were belonging to different political parties. It's also an example I cited. So that for you to understand that it's not the issue of belonging to different political parties.
Okay, but did you say that the governor and the deputy governor in Kogi State are currently not in the same party?
Not now. Not now.
Then.
I'm saying that the former deputy governor, the former deputy governor of Kogi State, who is being impeached by the State House Assembly, and the subsequent appointment of the former chief of staff to the governor to occupy the office of the deputy governor.
Okay, so are you aware that the deputy governor's camp say that the House is going against the courts because there's a proceeding in the courts that says they should stay action until that particular matter is determined, and this action of the Assembly can be considered as contempt of court?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I had the deputy governor obtain an interim order from a federal high court Abuja. But this should not that the interim order has lifespan, which is 14 days, and have already elapsed, except it is being renewed. And the court or the interim order will not stay for life. So let them explain in clear terms whether the court order is being renewed or not.
All right, so back to some of the issues you raised, which you consider misconduct, or gross misconduct on the part of the deputy governor. And I'd like to know, does the governor know about every trip that you go for?
As he's a political appointee, I must know. And even the deputy governor, the constitution informs the governor that whenever the deputy governor is going out of the state or of the country, to formally write to the governor seeking for approval before he travels anywhere in the country.
So the governor is aware of every trip you make. So when you dash to a place, you tell the governor.
When I'm working under his office, now I'm working with the political party. You understand? I'm not restricted by any provision of the law.
No, I'm talking about when you are an appointee. So imagine you want to go to run some errands. You have to tell the governor, right?
Yes, I must inform you. I'm going to abscond from the service from so date to so date.
So right after closing hours, the governor is still involved in your life.
See, the issue of after the working hours, what requires me to inform you is for me to be absent from the work I'm supposed to do. He is being elected as deputy governor. He's supposed to exercise the powers of the office of deputy governor.
So can you give me an example, if you don't mind, Mr. Idris? Can you give me an example of one of those?
I will esteem deputy governor come abscond his office for over 6 months without staying in the office and say you said he is not abusing the office.
Okay, so can you give me a precise example of one of those times that you said that the deputy governor absconded? Where did he go to, for what duration, if you're aware of any of such?
Even right now, it was only yesterday he returned back to the town. He spent about 1 month at the plant without even staying in the state. He's away.
I didn't get that. You said he spent 1 month at the where?
Away in Abuja.
Interesting. So, essentially, this is a done deal. Is the deputy governor going to be given fair hearing? Don't forget that there's still a court case, which the PDP has said, I mean, the House doing this while there's still a court case is sub judice, as it were. So, what is the plan, really, after this whole impeachment notice?
As a layman in terms of law, you understand? As far as I'm concerned, the interim order has already elapsed. It has only a 14 days lifespan, which has already elapsed since. He obtained the order since last year, and he's a lawyer. He knows this. And the interim order will not stay for lifetime or for a longer period. It's only within 14 days.
Well, his camp claims that the State Assembly were acting while he got the order from the courts, and so that's why they deem it contempt of court. But then, within that 1 month, which he claimed that he spent in Abuja, are you aware if he was given any official duty for which he declined or didn't perform?
No, he was not given any official duty to perform on behalf of the government or the governor of Zamfara State. We are aware of that.
So why is that a crime then, if he's away and not turning down or declining to attend any official function, unless you're asking him to attend a party function for which he's not an APC member?
No, we don't ask him to attend our party activities. He belongs to the PDP and we belong to APC. So we cannot ask him to come and partake in our political activities.
So why is it an offense if he is away and then he wasn't asked to attend any official function, he didn't decline any official function? How is that an offense or gross misconduct?
You know, the issue of gross misconduct, as we are saying, he go contrary spending his office money contrary to the provisions of the budgetary provisions made by the office. You understand? He made it clear that he spent the money to sponsor some student which is not provided in the budgetary provision of the deputy governor's office. And again, in the explanation is one of his 8 games that they used to monitor other people which is not provided in the provision of the budgetary provision of the deputy governor's office. The money were meant as well out on how to spend kobo by kobo of any of the of all the money in the office of the deputy governor.
Well, Mr. Idris, clearly, doesn't that establish a timeline and a history of him being hounded because the governor is threatened, that he's providing leadership, getting the crowd, and he's not? And now they want to use impeachment to, quote-unquote, get him out of the way.
Well, as you can see, how will a governor, deputy governor, going to be accusing his governor if there is no gross misconduct and also total abuse of office? Is the government, is there sharing the syndicate, and also he's supposed to, if there is any matter that is at the attention of the governor, he's supposed to come and tell me, not to be going into the public and making all such unnecessary and unguided statements, which is a total insubordination to the office of the governor, meaning the deputy governor, which I believe not even the governor, not even in the office of the governor or anywhere, even in your organization, if you notice someone who is trying to make a gross insubordination to the activities of the office, you need to discipline him. Maybe that is what the House of Assembly is trying to do. And the issue he raised that during their congresses, some thugs in various their venues, which is maybe is not in line with what is happening in the state. I'm very unfortunate their deputy vice chairman, whom they elected during their congress, later after he come out and vindicates the state government and the all progressive congress.
So Mr. Idris, in other words, are you telling us now that the governor sanctioned that decision by the House of Assembly to discipline him for insubordination?
I did not say so. I'm not saying the governor. I have already made it clear that the governor has no hand in the removal process of the deputy governor.
He hasn't spoken up against it. If he doesn't have any hand, he will speak up against it. We know these things, don't we?
No, how will he stop them from exercising their powers?
He approves of it.
There are different arms of government. He's an executive while they are the legislators. How do you expect him to intervene or to make anything rather than allow them to exercise their powers provided by the Constitution, by the 1999 Constitution as amended? It is a totally different thing from the executive arm of government and the legislative arm of government. I don't think the governor to say, okay, you should stop them from doing their work that is provided in the Constitution. I don't think it's right.
In the script before, I mean, that it was not totally unexpected that this was going to happen. The moment the governor went to the APC and his deputy governor did not go with him, some people will say we already knew this was going to happen and this was going to be the next line of action and this was going to be the defense that will be put up, that they are separate arms of government. Indeed, they are separate arms of government. But if the governor does not believe that this is the way to go, surely I'm sure he can say a word or two to say this is how I feel about this particular matter, not necessarily stopping the legislature from doing what they want to do. Did you hear my question, Mr. Yusuf Idris?
No, come again.
I'm saying that this particular scenario was not unexpected. A lot of people had already predicted that this was going to happen. The moment the governor defected late June last year and his deputy did not go with him, people already saw that this was going to happen eventually. You have defended the governor that he cannot stop the legislature from doing what they have now set about to do. But people will say that he hasn't spoken up in defense of his own deputy in the first instance, has he?
Well, the governor is entitled. Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Can you hear me? Well, everybody is entitled to his own opinion. The people who predicted, maybe it's their opinion, it's their personal opinion. But as far as the All Progressives Congress is concerned in Zamfara State and the governor, I don't think the governor has a right to stop the State Assembly from performing or carrying out its constitutional duties as empowered by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So anybody is entitled to his own personal opinion. Anybody can make his own suggestions and say his opinion without anything. But as far as the All Progressives Congress is concerned in Zamfara State and the governor himself, I'm not speaking on his behalf, but I know he is not one who initiated the impeachment process rather than the All Progressive Congress. But I know the Zamfara Assembly, as every House of Assembly in Nigeria, is empowered to remove any governor or deputy governor. As I said earlier, even the House of Assembly can remove the governor himself if there is anything happening on the way.
I think it's important to state that we haven't disputed the powers of the State House of Assembly. Neither have we asked the governor to go and stop them. What we're saying is that the governor has been silent on the matter. He hasn't spoken up to say, oh, I don't think my deputy has done anything deserving of an impeachment. He hasn't said anything whether for or against his deputy. Silence has been the matter, which some people will say is in agreement with the decision of the State House of Assembly.
You should remember he is the chief executive of the state, and he is not the chief legislator of the state. You understand? He cannot perform his function and perform the functions of the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly are performing their functions. So the governor will not come and perform the functions of the State House of Assembly. He's performing the executive arm of government functions, which is the chief executive of the state. And by the righteous of him, and I
you keep going back. You keep going back. You keep going back to the functions. I mean, right now we are asking you questions and you're expressing your opinion. It doesn't mean that you're going to perform the functions of the State House of Assembly. You are saying that you believe that indeed that the deputy governor has committed some grievous error, well, I say error of judgment now, or has committed what it is that he's been accused of by the State House of Assembly. That is your opinion. I mean, it doesn't stop or, will I say, encourage the State House of Assembly in the work that they do. The question is, why hasn't the governor spoken up like you are currently doing?
The governor to say what? Madam, what do you expect him to say?
Let me ask you this. How big a problem has it been really for your party in the state, knowing that the governor defected to your party, the APC, and that the deputy governor did not go with him? How big a problem was that for the APC in Zamfara?
We don't have any problem. We are happy and satisfied with the governor being our party. And the party is becoming more stronger and more formidable under the leadership of the governor.
So it wasn't an issue for you that the deputy governor did not go with him and that he was leading the opposition in the state? Meanwhile, he was also in the State House?
No, it's his own opinion. The Constitution requires him to belong to any association or political party of his interest. So you cannot force someone to be in your party, rather for him to say, you ask him to maybe to become compulsory for him to join your party or not. That is his own right, and which we leave in everyone to exercise his constitutional provision.
So for you, the fact that he even chose to be in the PDP, despite the fact that his principal, the governor, had moved to the APC, wasn't gross misconduct?
We don't have anything with him. He is in PDP. We're in APC. The issue lies with the State House of Assembly. It's not the party or the government. The issue of the House of Assembly raised, and they are following the due process as contained in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The House of Assembly members serve a notice of impeachment to the Speaker, which requires even 1/3 of the House of Assembly members sign the document to be presented to the Speaker, and the Speaker must issue and serve the notice to the Deputy Governor, which I believe even yesterday I read a friend's statement which was which was issued by the Chairman House Standing Committee on Information, Honorable Shamsuddin Basco Mafara, that they have even served the Deputy Governor with the notice of impeachment to read the office of the Secretary to the Government.
You say you have no problem with the deputy governor remaining in the PDP, but you certainly stand to benefit as a party when he eventually is impeached, assuming that eventually happens. Isn't that correct?
Actually, we are going to benefit if he is impeached, and we will be glad and happy as a political party. It's a political game.
Yet, you say you have no problem.
Yeah, we have no problem being him in his own political party, because he may not lose the fortune of the party with anything.
Well, let's take this back to Lagos, gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much, Mapwe. Mr. Idris, it's quite interesting to know that all of you were in the same party, the PDP, before the governor moved, and then the members of the assembly moved, lawmakers in the National Assembly also moved. So it's quite interesting to see the relationship that you had, which was blossoming at some point, now going sour. And as I keep referring to, you've known the deputy governor way before now, both at the executive level, working with the governor, and at the party level. Would you say he's a man that is, capable of all of these things that he's been accused of? Mr. Idris, did you get that?
Hello, can you hear me? Come again.
Okay, I said you've known the deputy governor at various levels, the executive arm of government, at the party level as well. I mean, you had a relationship before people decided to go their separate ways. By that, I mean the APC. So, haven't known him for years, perhaps. Would you say he's a man capable of all that he's been accused of? Gross misconduct, misappropriation. In fact, you accused him of misbehaving at some point earlier on in this conversation. So, do you know him as that kind of person?
He has the tendencies of doing such. By mere his activities in some extent.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Do you say that you've always known him to be a man of the character that he's been accused of or not?
He has the tendencies of doing such.
So why did the governor choose him as his deputy then, if he had that tendency?
I know him after the election. I don't know him before the election. I don't work with him closely until when he became the deputy governor. So by mere what is happening, sometimes he may have the tendencies of behaving the way the House of Assembly is accusing.
So, amidst all of this conversation is the security challenge in Zamfara State. And, the question would be how much of this is going to improve security, because the deputy governor has actually spoken up against insecurity. In fact, he's visited some areas that were affected, and I imagine that may have made the governor look bad. So amidst all of this, is Zamfara still having a grasp on fighting insecurity in the state?
Well, as you know, the governor is doing his best to tackle the issue of insecurity. Though he inherited the entire situation in the state, because he inherited the entire banditry and other criminal activities, but he's trying his best in order to arrest the situation, which I believe the citizens of the state are living witness. There is a tremendous success in that direction. Because when he came in on board, even by 6 o'clock, you cannot see any motorists in the state, but now you can move freely in the state capital 2-4. Without thinking of being attacked in the state capital or anything. Likewise, in most of the roads linking the state capital, before it's coming, they are unmotorable, and some of them are even closed down, which until when he came in as the governor of the state, he directed the reopening of all the roads and the marketplaces, which become accessible by all the people within and outside the state. And also, most of the massive charges and what have you, before he's coming, were in a serious stage of...
so, Mr. Idris, all right, so we're winding down on this one now. Doesn't the governor himself spend months in Abuja?
He does. It's hardly for the governor. His normal stay in Abuja may not exceed 5 days. Except if there is anything of serious concern or needs his attention, either in the presidential villa or they are holding a meeting with his colleagues, the governors.
Because there are many who think otherwise from what you've just said now, but I guess there'll be more responses to that one. Well, we have to thank you for coming on this morning, YUSUF Idris, Publicity Secretary of the APC. And we did also reach out to the Deputy Governor and his team, but at the moment they were not able to make it on the program. Well, we're back in just a moment. Stay with us.